increasing number of earthquakes under Hawaii's Kilauea volcano preceded the appearance of fissures spewing molten lava in the lower Puna region of the Big Island on May 3. The newly active fissures have led to the destruction of homes, evacuation of residents, closure of roads, and emissions of poisonous sulfuric gases that will impact the region for months, if not years to come. Examination of the fracking practices at Puna Geothermal Power Station directly raises the strong possibility that the fracking was a direct factor in unleashing what is currently occurring. The Puna geothermal venture is owned by Ormat Industries, which is an Israeli-based company. The company is financially connected to the Rothschild family. A partial collapse of Kilauea volcano could trigger a massive tsunami that would not only engulf the Hawaiian Islands but also devastate the US Pacific coast as well as the coastal regions of other Pacific Rim nations. The hidden purpose of the Puna geothermal plant was to trigger earthquakes and seismic activity around Kilauea volcano that would lead to a collapse of the Helena slump. This would create a Pacific-wide disaster that would cripple the US economically and militarily for years to come, thereby helping the Rothschild family maintain its shadowy global control system.
Acabo de regresar de 6 meses en alta mar y encontré tanto plástico que me sorprendió. Me encontré más plástico que vida. El parche de basura en el Pacífico Norte, que descubrí en 1997, es el tamaño de Europa. En 2014 encontré 19 millones de pedazos por kilómetro cuadrado en el norte del Pacífico, y estos parches de basura existen en todos los océanos. Conocemos 5 giros que son acumuladores de plástico. Es increíble la cantidad que existe.
Es una barbaridad. O sea, realmente estamos comiendo plásticos sin darnos cuenta.
Yo creo que no muy lejos en el futuro los doctores, cuando se va a dar sangre, van a tener un instrumento que va a darte tu cantidad de plástico en tu cuerpo. La gente no entiende que el plástico no biodegrada, no desaparece.
Según la ONU, en 2050 habrá en los océanos más plástico que peces. ¿Cree que esto es posible?
Es seguro por vivir un estilo de vida desechable. Todo que existe en nuestras vidas tiene una parte de plástico, casi todo. El problema es grave. No vamos a tener peces para comer, no vamos a tener aire para respirar y no vamos a tener agua para beber. Nosotros producimos el peso de la civilización humana cada año en plásticos.
Wir sind dabei, unseren Planeten zu plastifizieren. Es ist schwer, einen Ort zu finden, an dem es kein Plastik gibt.
Das ist eine globale Krise, die wir ansprechen müssen. Es kann nicht sein, dass 2 Milliarden Menschen keine vernünftige Abfallentsorgung haben, ohne die wir das Problem der Meeresverschmutzung in naher Zukunft nicht in den Griff kriegen werden.
Wir bräuchten eigentlich eine Gesamtstrategie und die fehlt halt komplett, und das ist eigentlich das Erschreckende daran.
Insgesamt sollen bis heute etwa 8,3 Milliarden Tonnen Plastik produziert worden sein. Besonders alarmierend: mehr als die Hälfte davon ist in den letzten Jahren hergestellt worden. Schon Mitte der 70er Jahre hatte die amerikanische National Academy of Sciences auf die Meeresverschmutzung durch Plastikmüll aufmerksam gemacht. Eine Verringerung sei dringend geboten, hieß es in ihrem Bericht.
Aber von Anfang an hat sich keiner darüber Gedanken gemacht, was machen wir damit eigentlich, wenn es mal als Abfall anfällt.
Wir haben etwas Magisches erschaffen, aber inzwischen konsumieren wir exzessiv. Und diesen Konsum machen wir uns nicht klar. Wir konsumieren, ohne über die Folgen nachzudenken, über den Abdruck, den wir hinterlassen werden. Die Plastikvermüllung ist ein politisches Problem. Der Markt ist gescheitert. Schließlich ist er nicht mehr in der Lage, den grundlegenden Systemfehler zu korrigieren, der dazu geführt hat, dass Mikroplastik in allen Umweltbereichen anfällt, sogar in unseren Körpern.
Die Abfallindustrie ist definitiv eine der größten Industrien der Welt. Wir neigen dazu, das nicht so einzuschätzen. Aber in der Realität hat der Export von Müll einen sehr hohen Stellenwert.
Von 1950 bis 2015 sind weltweit rund 6,3 Milliarden Tonnen Plastikmüll angefallen. Davon werden etwa 9% wiederverwertet, 12% verbrannt und 79% des weltweit angefallenen Mülls finden sich auf Deponien oder sind einfach so in die Umwelt gelangt. Mehr als die Hälfte des weltweit exportierten Plastikmülls ging bislang nach China, 56%. 87% der Plastikmüllexporte der EU gehen nach China. Und aus dem Schrott der Welt machte Peking ein Geschäft. Der Preis: verseuchte Flüsse, Versmogte Städte, kranke Menschen. China, Europas Müllhalde. Oder aus den Augen, aus dem Sinn. Es ist ein schmutziges Geschäft, aber ein einträgliches.
Offiziell darf kein Müll exportiert werden. Aber wenn man Müll umdeklariert zum Ausgangsstoff, dann ist es ein Wirtschaftsgut und dann darf er.
Doch China will nicht mehr. Ab 2018 hat die chinesische Führung die Einfuhr von Plastikmüll stark eingeschränkt. Plastik ist überall. In Bier, Honig und Wasser wurden Fasern von Mikroplastik nachgewiesen. Das Plastik gelangt auch über die Luft in unsere Lebensmittel.
Es ist schockierend zu realisieren, dass wir keine Kontrolle mehr über dieses Material haben. Plastik ist dabei, jeden Winkel unseres Planeten zu erobern. Es hat sogar schon unsere Nahrungskette erreicht. An jedem Ort, den wir Menschen betreten, hinterlassen wir Plastik.
Das Ende der Plastikvermüllung unserer Meere beginnt an Land, mit unserem Konsumverhalten.
Es ist eigentlich ganz einfach. Die Natur kennt keinen Abfall. Alles ist Nährstoff. Alle Dinge, die verschleißen, müssen in biologische Kreisläufe gehen. Alle Dinge, die aber nur genutzt werden, müssen in technische Kreisläufe gehen. Nur wir machen Abfall. Und wenn wir lernen, keinen Abfall mehr zu machen, sondern alles zu Nährstoff zu machen, dann können wir auch leicht 10 Milliarden Menschen auf der Erde sein.
Jeder muss Verantwortung übernehmen, damit unsere Erde nicht weiter plastifiziert wird.
Estos eran los aplausos del gobierno hace solo una semana atrás. En el Congreso celebraban la aprobación de los presupuestos generales del Estado con mayoría absoluta. Marcaba un punto de inflexión en la legislatura de Mariano Rajoy. Estabilidad política. Sin embargo, 24 horas después, la sentencia de la Audiencia Nacional sobre el caso Gürtel abrió una grieta que solo con el paso de los días se convertiría en un precipicio político para Rajoy. El tribunal condenaba al partido del gobierno por corrupción. Solo un día después, el líder socialista, Pedro Sánchez, anunciaba una moción de censura contra Rajoy para sacarle de la Moncloa. El presidente Rajoy sacaba pecho en la sesión de control del miércoles sobre el respaldo ciudadano que ha recibido en los últimos años, a pesar de los numerosos casos de corrupción.
2011 las gané, 2015 las gané y 2016 las gané.
En cuestión de días, Mariano Rajoy pasa de la estabilidad a su mayor crisis política. El primer objetivo era echar a Mariano Rajoy de la Moncloa y Pedro Sánchez lo ha conseguido, pero ahora la pregunta es cómo van a gobernar los socialistas, qué tipo de pacto han tenido con los independentistas catalanes y con los nacionalistas vascos. Precisamente en los últimos días, Mariano Rajoy de manera peyorativa hablaba de un gobierno Frankenstein.
Cuidado que si no me votáis a los del gobierno Frankenstein, tengo que pactar con Ciudadanos y adelantar las elecciones. Y a Ciudadanos le está diciendo, cuidado que como me sigas exigiendo el adelanto de elecciones, entonces en ese caso me voy con el gobierno Frankenstein.
Y antes de la votación de la moción de censura, el portavoz del Partido Popular, Rafael Hernando, decía a Pedro Sánchez que iba a entrar por la puerta de atrás en la Moncloa y le recordaba que iba a gobernar con aquellos que el mismo Pedro Sánchez había llamado golpistas.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo declared that the U.S. is imposing, quote, the strongest sanctions in history.
We will apply unprecedented financial pressure on the Iranian regime. This sting of sanctions will be painful if the regime does not change its course. These will indeed end up being the strongest sanctions in history when we are complete.
These concerted attempts to isolate and strangle Iran are quite clearly part of a larger goal: regime change in Tehran. Although members of the Trump administration have denied that this is on the agenda, the president's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, let the cat out of the bag. Just a few days before Trump announced his decision to sabotage the nuclear deal, Giuliani openly boasted that the U.S. president wants regime change.
We've got a president who's tough and a president that is as committed to regime change as we are.
Giuliani made these remarks at a May 5th gathering of the MEK, a cultish Iranian opposition group that is dedicated to overthrowing the government in Tehran. Giuliani even bragged that Trump's reimposition of suffocating U.S. sanctions on Iran could destabilize the economy and foment more protests.
With that gun and sanctions back, we have a real chance of escalating these protests.
Trump's lawyer made it clear what he thought about this international agreement, pretending to spit on it as he called for regime change in Iran.
What do you think is going to happen to that agreement? That nuclear agreement.
This annual conference is a front for the opposition cult, the Mojahedin-e-Khalq, known by the acronym the MEK. The MEK is a bizarre cult of personality built around the married couple Masoud and Mariam Rajavi. The Islamist opposition group, which is even more authoritarian than the Iranian government, is extremely unpopular inside Iran, but claims to be the official voice of the Iranian opposition in exile. Giuliani referred to Mariam Rajavi as his hero and insisted that the MEK cult should be installed to replace Iran's government.
Madam Rajavi is going to lead the movement for reform. We're all going to be in Tehran pretty soon.
The MEK has an extremely suspect history and is closely linked to Western governments. The group supported Saddam Hussein in his brutal war against Iran in the 1980s, in which the US helped the Iraqi dictator use chemical weapons against Iranian and Kurdish civilians. The US president's sabotage of the internationally agreed upon Iran nuclear deal, and his personal lawyer's reaffirmed commitment to regime change, show how Donald Trump is hurtling down the path toward yet another catastrophic war.
Ich glaube, der große Hammer, der wird noch kommen. In meinen Augen bereiten die USA ganz systematisch einen Krieg gegen den Iran vor. Und der Hintergrund der ganzen Sache ist der, dass die Investoren in den USA in den letzten Jahren ungeheuer viel Geld in das Fracking investiert haben. Und dass dieses Fracking bisher nicht profitabel gewesen ist. In dem Moment, wo der Iran-Krieg losgeht, wird der Ölpreis explodieren und dann wird das Fracking für die USA sehr profitabel werden. Die USA sind in einer wirklich sehr, sehr schwierigen Situation und die Finanzindustrie in den USA, die braucht unbedingt Erfolge, weil die Verschuldung des Landes ist enorm. Da müssen enorme Profite gemacht werden und diese Profite liegen auf der Hand, wenn man einen Krieg führt. Das würde die Rüstungsindustrie ankurbeln, das würde die Erdöl- und die Erdgasindustrie auch ankurbeln. Meine Vermutung ist, dass es irgendwann im Sommer oder im Herbst zum Krieg gegen den Iran kommen wird. Und dass sie dann versuchen werden, Russland den Energiemarkt Europa abzunehmen. Das Problem wiederum der EU ist ja, dass die EU selber auch kaum noch Bestand hat. Die EU ist ja dabei, richtig auseinanderzufallen. Also da brauchen wir bloß die Ereignisse in Katalonien ansehen, die neue Regierung in Italien, die Finanzschwierigkeiten des italienischen Bankensektors. Da ist ja also so gut wie nichts mehr zu retten bei der EU. Also ich vermute, dass wir auch ein Auseinanderfallen der EU sehen werden. Die Verhältnisse im Moment sind sehr, sehr, sehr heiß und es ist eine ganz gefährliche Situation, die von den meisten Leuten wirklich unterschätzt wird.
Actually, the United States is losing its cards. The main card was al-Nusra, that was called moderate. But when the scandal started leaking that they are not moderate, they are Al-Qaeda, that was supposed to be fought by United States, they look for another card. This card is the SDF now. The only problem left in Syria is the SDF. We're going to deal with it by two options. The first one, we started now opening doors for negotiations. If not, we're going to resort to liberating those areas by force. We don't have any other options. This is our land, it's our right, and it's our duty to liberate it. And the Americans should leave. Somehow, they're going to leave.
Perhaps the U.S. sees the status quo of seeing North Korea as the ultimate threat as being something beneficial.
South Korea is spending billions of dollars making bases and paying U.S. troops, essentially, to be there to ostensibly protect against a threat up in the north. Now, that being the case, if there were to be peace in Korea, there's going to be questionings, well, do we need our troops there? And so I think in that sense, there are forces that don't want a resolution, that benefit off the instability and allow us to maintain these troops and dozens of bases and posts in this small country in a region that we think strategically is important.
Enemies of a government are friends of its military-industrial complex. And having a nemesis like North Korea is a great excuse to pump up that military budget.
If there is a peace on the Korean Peninsula, why do we need 30,000 troops there? They're not there, really, to protect South Korea from North Korea. They're there to contain China. I'm not even sure it's the military guys so much. I think it's more of the, you call it the deep state, the neocons, whatever you want. But they don't like the idea that we're not going to be in the Korea business.
Los documentos obtenidos muestran que entre 2015 y 2016, 14 militares estadounidenses de una base militar de alta seguridad compraron, distribuyeron y usaron LSD y otras drogas como cocaína y éxtasis que alteran la mente. Algunos pilotos reconocieron ante el tribunal que sintieron paranoia y pánico durante horas. No sabía si iba a morir esta noche o no. Testificó un soldado que reconoció que no hubiera podido responder en caso de emergencia. La mayoría de estos militares pertenecían a un escuadrón que custodia un tercio de los 400 proyectiles nucleares. Algunos tienen una potencia 20 veces superior a la bomba que destruyó Hiroshima.
I'm here today following a very busy few weeks in American foreign policy.
You continue to sign off on the genocide of a native people. You are an accomplice to terrorists and colonizers. Woo!
You signed off on genocide!
When you're talking about chronic use of any psychiatric drug, you are heading down a road of problematic side effects and addiction. People do not understand that when they give you these drugs and prescribe them to you, they'll tell you you're going to be on these drugs for the rest of your life. And the reason they tell you that is because nobody knows how to get you off of them safely and comfortably. Because when you try to get off of them, most everyone has symptoms that mimic the exact same symptoms they were given the drugs for, but they're more severe. So what you're told is, for example, if you have an adverse reaction to antidepressants and you become manic psychotic, well, you know, what we thought that you had was a depressive disorder, but now we realize that this is part of a bipolar depressive spectrum because you've had this event, and therefore we're going to add another drug to your regimen, and you're going to be on these drugs for the rest of your life. And people accept that, and they walk away feeling that they're defective, that there's something wrong with them. And the fact of the matter is, many times, it's their poor dietary habits, it's their lifestyles, it's their psychological issues from childhood or from their marriage, or it's a number of other things, and they haven't even investigated what the real root cause of the problem is. And so what they do is start masking the symptoms with drugs, and then you get more symptoms, more drugs, and pretty soon you are what they tell you you were. They create the disease to treat. And it's not just in the psychiatric field, but it's the easiest place to do it because there are no tests required to diagnose a person with a psychiatric illness. There's no blood test, there's no urine test, there's no PET scan. You may have a little questionnaire that you can fill out that is very subjective, but they don't have any disease evidence. And that's what makes it so lucrative, because you're a potential customer, I'm a potential customer. Anyone that has a death in the family, has a divorce, has a bad day, has a bad job, whatever, they are a candidate for drugs. I want you to have this warning, and I want you to share it with every single person that you possibly can that you know that either is on antidepressants or has a child on these drugs. And that is that you cannot cold turkey off of these drugs. It may cost you your life. It is imperative that you titrate the dosage slowly, which means you reduce the dose slowly, just so that they can have more time, that the brain can recuperate, that the body can detoxify, and so that they don't have the severity of withdrawal symptoms that they would if they were to cold turkey off the drugs. And of course, I always advise people to get medical supervision. It may not be easy to get a psychiatrist to agree to take people off of their drugs. Because first and foremost, psychiatrists, they have a medicalized model, so there's a huge push to keep them prescribing drugs, because if the drugs are proven to be ineffective, what are all the psychiatrists going to do? If you can't find a psychiatrist that'll help you get off the drugs, then go to an alternative MD or an integrative care MD. That's usually somebody who can prescribe medication but also knows about alternatives, that they can make other recommendations besides drugs.
Started a new job, and I was feeling some anxiety, a little depressed. So that's when I got on. Effexor, and a few days after that is when I started feeling that inner pain, feeling like I had to get out of my own skin. So basically, what I do on a daily basis is I just pace and I pace and I pace and I pace. If I don't pace and I sit, it makes everything a lot worse, and the pain inside gets worse. You know, a lot of people say that. Trust doctors, they know what they're doing. Until you find out that they don't. When you're hurt by something, a medication especially, the doctors almost become defensive. when you're trying to tell them things like this, and their only answer is to try more drugs and try more drugs and try more drugs.
Just got worse, and it did not occur to me at all that the medication had anything to do with it.
This is what 5 years on antidepressants has done to a little boy, 10-year-old Seth. Before this, Seth was an anxious but otherwise happy child.
I got a bird, finally.
Seth was 5 when Mum Donna was recommended the antidepressant Arapax, also known as paroxetine, by their family GP.
She didn't actually see him to diagnose anything.
The GP also failed to advise of any possible side effects. At first, the drug appeared to help with Seth's anxiety, but after a week, he turned aggressive, angry, and violent. Believing the medication wasn't strong enough, Seth's paediatrician increased his dose. How bad did it get?
The saying of the day became, "Why did you have me? I don't want to be here anymore."
Seth has been in and out of hospital.
I trusted the doctors. Doctors trusted the pharmaceutical companies.
Is it safe for kids to be prescribed antidepressants?
Absolutely not. To be approved, the drug has to beat a sugar pill in 2 clinical trials, and they can do 1,000. It's known as legal fraud. The worst and most dangerous side effect is called akathisia, which is a can't-sit-down restlessness associated with thoughts of violence, which turned in on oneself becomes suicide, or turned out become homicide, even mass homicide.
Akathisia is commonly mistaken for psychosis, but there is a big difference.
These are substance and medication-induced disorders, which are toxic states. They're toxic states like being drunk is a toxic state.
Seth is being weaned off Arapax under professional supervision.
I'm so glad that we know now.
Our society has become very confused about psychiatric drugs. We've been told that they fix chemical imbalances, they help people live normal lives. And yet, what has happened in the last 20 years? As a society, are we seeing a reduction of the burden of mental illness in our society? Not at all. We have more people depressed. There's been an explosion in bipolar patients. Now we need to ask, what's going on? And why do we keep doing it if it's not working? There's a couple reasons why I think we keep doing it. One is it is a commercial story. So pharmaceutical companies basically tell us a story that these drugs are very effective and you got a chemical imbalance. So it is a story about how the pharmaceutical industry, and in collaboration with psychiatry, frankly, they've put out this image of human beings very happy, and that their mind's this settled place, sort of, and that it's not a place where you feel sad or grief or anxiety. All these emotions that we actually do know are very common to human beings, especially anxiety. But they have told us a story, that's a disease to feel anxious. And they're also telling us a story, we have this magic pill to eliminate that disease. And then once that story gets fixed, habits get fixed. Doctors start saying, oh, this is what I do when someone comes and complaining about some stress in their life. I prescribe an SSRI, and I get reimbursed for that. And you basically get these patterns set up where the whole society is set up to act in this way. Insurance reimbursement, and belief systems, and doctors. And even when you see bad outcomes, you see more people depressed, you see disability rates rising in our country, it doesn't seem like there's a good mechanism for checking this and for us to say, maybe we should try something different, like diet or exercise. We have made extraordinary wide use of psychiatric drugs, and at all ages. You know, we're putting 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, youth on these drugs. Now, we have had a lot of high-profile killings in the last 20 years, and there's obviously a lot of cultural factors involved. But there's a pretty strong strain in the literature that these psychiatric drugs can, in fact, stir homicidal ideations, such as SSRIs. Do they increase the risk of suicidal and homicidal ideation? It's quite clear that they do. I think there's two things that may be going on with the psychiatric drugs and violence. One is something, the drugs can stir something called akathisia. Akathisia is this inner agitation where you just feel like you can't get comfortable anywhere. People almost talk about it as an inner torture. Akathisia is well known to be associated with violence and risk of homicidal ideation and homicidal behavior. Now, I think there's another thing, and this is more speculative. You know, with some of these drugs, you actually get a diminishment in your frontal lobe activity. And our frontal lobes are a part of our brain that say, hey, do this or don't do this. It's the part of this that makes us human and allows us to monitor our activities. And if you lose that monitoring, you may be losing some self-reflective behavior that would, when a crazy idea like shooting someone comes up in your head, normally the frontal lobes would say, well, that is a really bad idea. Do antipsychotics diminish frontal lobe activity? Absolutely. And there is some evidence that SSRIs sometimes can do it as well. Academic psychiatry is preserving, one of its products, which is psychiatric drugs, and that's a big reason for it.
Turista grababa imágenes en la playa en Hawái cuando, sin darse cuenta, un objeto, una esfera, pasa frente a la cámara a gran velocidad. Resulta evidente que el objeto es sólido y que se mueve a una velocidad impresionante.
Down there is Area 51, and if you could see those lights down there, it's been going on for the last couple of days. You can see lights like going up and down and moving all around. Look, it's going up. It's starting to go up. It's been there for like the last 20 minutes or so. Now it's going up. This has been going on for the last couple of days, and I don't know what it is.
Por medio de los equipos de seguridad ha sido posible detectar objetos que cruzan a una gran velocidad y que difícilmente podríamos ver con nuestros ojos. Estos se presentan bajo el espectro infrarrojo en muchas ocasiones y son prácticamente imperceptibles.
I'm pretty sure that there's somebody that's benefiting from the power or the advantage of maintaining this exclusive little club that they've got, which knows a lot of things that the rest of us don't know.
Yeah, it was about 15 years ago that they really in earnest started bringing in researchers from universities across the world into these deep ice caverns to begin giving them access a little bit at a time of this under ice world. Eventually, they gave a lot of these university researchers access to a civilization that was destroyed that's under the ice, that has been cleaned up and manicured to remove anything that disturbs the historical narrative too much. The interesting part is that the military-industrial complex wants this information to leak out a little bit at a time. There's a lot of very disturbing stuff that goes on in those, and they want that to be kept very quiet. But they do want us to focus on things that they're giving us little drip disclosures.
Earth is like the planet of 1,000 galaxies. There's alien races coming through here all the time. It was the Anunnaki who were here, and they were manipulating DNA. They were creating all these hybrid races that were partially human and partially something else. You're talking about even before the recorded history of man. We can see them represented everywhere on the monoliths, the megaliths throughout the Earth, and even on other planets. The thing is, alien abduction and alien visitor phenomena, it's not leveling off. It's only increasing as time goes on. And what's the reason for that? Is because they are desperate to form connection with human beings. We have something that they want very badly. With their technology, they could have had all our gold a long time ago, very easily. What they want is more precious than gold. They want connection to human souls, to human spirit. That's what they want. One thing that abductions and animal mutilations have in common is that they're not really what they're named for. That's another deception by the elite powers in control. Alien abductions of humans are not really abductions, they are harvestings of tissue, of human tissue. That's their real purpose. That's their real agenda of what's going on with these abductions. It's going to be used towards what the Anunnaki were doing in the past, to create these hybrid creatures that are going to help them with their ultimate agenda. There is a standing order that has been out for 60 years to all the nations, which just basically very simply says, do not reveal or allow to be revealed anything real concerning alien visitors, UFOs, or alien visitation in general. That's why you see whenever anything happens that's actually in the paranormal with UFOs or alien visitors that's actually real, you see this mad scramble. They don't have to wait for orders. The cover-up becomes immediate. So this order has been going on. It goes beyond any president, any prime minister, and it's in effect all the time. The flat Earth has been pushed in the last couple of years really hard all over the internet. And I can tell you the reason for that. That's a disinfo operation that has been pushed for one reason, because they want to discredit Hollow Earth by talking about flat Earth, because they knew this Antarctica stuff was going to come out and it was going to lead directly into Hollow Earth as being a real thing. And they wanted to try to push forward this flat Earth thing in people's minds, and they'll just dismiss the whole thing. Everything keeps on coming back that they found a civilization under the ice. But the reason why in 2 years we've gone from 5 countries being there to 32 with military, scientific personnel, and the reason for that is because there is alien tech that is there. And the nations want their share of that alien tech. And so now they're all jockeying for position to see who gets what portion. It's an extraordinary level of men, materials, of people that's going in there like never before. And they're building a huge infrastructure. All the major companies are there, McDonnell Douglas, all of them, they're all there. So they need a cover story. And I think the cover story is going to be, they found a Nazi base with advanced technology under the ice. But if it is there, that's like 1/1000th of what they found. But it's going to be used as the overall cover story to prevent people from looking any further. So that's still in effect. But something's going to be released in Antarctica. Some of it's going to depend on Putin and Trump and how they decide to deal with it as well. We're in an Orwellian society now, where 100% of corporate news is completely false. It's all deceit, it's all manipulation. And that's why we need a revolution against the elite powers in control and their systems and their stranglehold. People just need to learn how to distinguish, how to investigate for themselves, and how to see what's real and what's not.
There is research to suggest that people who have developed emotional intelligence in adolescence or early adulthood not only succeed in their professions, they live long and stable loving relationships, in addition to having low levels of depression and anxiety. There is evidence also that these people are even healthier. 5 elements that need to be worked to develop an emotionally intelligent mind are self-knowledge, self-control, motivation, social skills, and empathy. Of these items, which may still be unknown, is empathy, which in general is the ability to put yourself in someone else. Among the features of emotional intelligence is the ability to control impulses, channeling emotions for appropriate situations, practice gratitude, and motivate people, and other qualities that can help encourage others. Emotional intelligence, for most scholars of human behavior, can be considered more important than the mental intelligence. The first 3 factors are linked to the intelligence intrapersonal: the ability to understand himself, to produce a true and accurate representation of yourself, and use it permanently and creatively. The remaining 2 are connected to the intelligence interpersonal: the gift of understanding others, which elements stimulate them, how they operate, and how to act with them associatively. A great self-consciousness factor is honest with yourself about who you are. You know where does very well and where you have trouble, and accept those things. An emotionally intelligent person learns to identify their areas of strength and weakness and analyzes how to work more effectively within that framework. This awareness creates confidence. Self-awareness also comes to recognize emotions when they sprout, instead of identifying them badly or ignore them. When an emotionally intelligent person suffers a failure or setback, she can recover quickly. It is partly because of the ability to experiment with attention negative emotions without letting them get out of control, which offers a higher degree of resistance. Self-awareness allows you to monitor, observe in action. You must first understand what makes you act as you do, or starting to change your behavior for better results. You need to understand what is important to you, the way you experience things, whatever, like feelings, and how are the others. The I is not genetic, are learned skills and improved in the course of our lives. That way, we can say that we have 2 minds, therefore 2 different kinds of intelligence: rational and emotional. Our performance in life is determined not only by IQ, but mainly for IE. Fact cannot give best of themselves without the IE, since they are full partners in mental life. It drops the myth that we should override reason to emotion, that is, we must seek a balance between both. The way we interact with our emotions and regulate has an impact on almost every aspect of our lives.